The last thing I remember before the darkness overtook me was the sound of screeching tires and the sickening crunch of metal. In an instant, my world was snuffed out. There was no tunnel of light, no ethereal choir, only an overwhelming silence. When I finally opened my eyes, I found myself standing in a vast gray expanse. It wasn't heaven, nor was it hell. It was something else entirely. As I stood there, disoriented and confused, a figure emerged from the mist, cloaked in flowing robes and radiating an aura of calm authority. They introduced themselves simply as the guide. "You have passed on," they said, their voice reverberating through the stillness. "But your journey is not yet complete." "Not complete?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What does that mean? Am I dead?" The guide nodded solemnly. "Your time in the physical world has ended, but you have been chosen to witness what lies ahead. There is a warning you must carry back." Before I could protest or even fully process their words, the gray expanse around us began to shift. The air thickened, and the scene before me morphed into something vivid and horrifying. I was standing on a familiar coastline, the unmistakable cliffs of California stretching out before me. But the beauty was marred by chaos. The ground shook violently, buildings crumbled like sandcastles, and massive waves rose from the ocean, swallowing entire towns. "This is the danger that looms over California," the guide said, their tone heavy with sorrow. "A convergence of disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, wildfires, and storms. But there is more. Look closer." I squinted through the chaos and saw something that chilled me to my core. Amid the natural disasters, there were shadows moving, figures that didn't belong. They were dark, shapeless beings spreading fear and discord among the survivors. Wherever they passed, people turned on each other, succumbing to greed, anger, and despair. "What are they?" I whispered, unable to tear my eyes away. "Manifestations of humanity's darker nature," the guide replied. "In times of crisis, they feed on fear and division. But they can be fought if people choose unity and compassion over chaos." The scene shifted again, this time showing glimmers of hope. Groups of people banded together, rebuilding communities, sharing resources, and protecting one another. Their resilience created pockets of light that pushed back the shadows. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked. "I'm dead. What can I possibly do?" The guide placed a hand on my shoulder, their gaze piercing. "Your time is not entirely over. You will be sent back, but only briefly. Share what you have seen. Warn them of the dangers and the choices they must make. Inspire them to prepare, not just for the physical challenges, but for the battle within their own hearts." Before I could respond, the gray expanse consumed me once more. I awoke with a gasp, my body trembling and my mind racing. I was lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by monitors beeping steadily. A nurse rushed in, her face a mix of relief and astonishment. "You're awake," she said. "We thought we'd lost you." The days that followed were a blur of medical tests and cautious recovery. But my mind never wavered from the vision I had seen. Once I was strong enough, I began to speak to anyone who would listen. I warned of the great danger that still loomed over California, urging communities to prepare and come together. Many dismissed me as a dreamer or a fool, but some listened. They formed networks of mutual aid, disaster preparedness groups, and forums to discuss not only physical resilience, but emotional and spiritual strength. Slowly, the message began to spread. Months later, when the ground began to tremble and the skies darkened, I watched as people faced the chaos with courage and unity. They fought the shadows, not just with their hands, but with their hearts. And in those moments, I knew that my journey had truly come full circle. The danger was still coming, but so was hope. As I stood there, disoriented and confused, a figure emerged from the mist, cloaked in flowing robes and radiating an aura of calm authority. They introduced themselves simply as the guide. "You have passed on," they said, their voice reverberating through the stillness. "But your journey is not yet complete." "Not complete?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What does that mean? Am I dead?" The guide nodded solemnly, their gaze steady and unyielding. "Yes and no. Your mortal life has ended, but your soul still carries a purpose unfulfilled. There is a task that only you can complete, and until it is done, your journey remains unfinished." The mist around us began to shift, curling and twisting like smoke caught in an invisible wind. Scenes appeared within the swirling haze, faint at first, then sharper, more vivid. I saw glimpses of my life, moments of joy, sorrow, triumph, and regret. Then, the images shifted to people I didn't recognize and places I had never been. A city in chaos, consumed by fire and fear. A child crying out for help in a desolate wasteland. A figure standing alone on a cliff, gazing into the abyss. "What is this?" I whispered, overwhelmed by the images. "Why are you showing me this?" The guide's expression softened. "These are the echoes of a world teetering on the edge. Your actions, your choices have the power to tip the balance. You are the thread that weaves through these events, connecting them all, but only if you find the courage to act." I shook my head, my heart pounding. "How can I do anything? I'm dead. I'm nothing but a shadow." The guide extended a hand, and the mist around us solidified into a pathway stretching into the distance. "You are more than you know. Step forward, and you will see." Hesitant but compelled, I took a step onto the path. The air shimmered, and I found myself in a vibrant forest, the scent of earth and pine filling my lungs. It felt real, more real than anything I had experienced in my life. The guide walked beside me, their presence a steadying force. "Each step you take will bring you closer to understanding," they said. "But be warned, the path is fraught with challenges. You will face your fears, your failures, and the shadows of your past. Only by confronting them can you uncover the strength within you." As we walked, the forest gave way to a vast desert under a scorching sun. My throat burned, my legs ached, but I pressed on. Shadows began to rise from the sands, taking the forms of people I had wronged, opportunities one had squandered, and dreams I had abandoned. They whispered my doubts, their voices cutting deeper than any blade. "You're not strong enough," one shadow hissed. "You always run away when things get hard," another sneered. I faltered, my resolve wavering. But then the guide's voice cut through the din. "Remember why you walk this path. Remember what lies at the end." Summoning every ounce of strength, I faced the shadows. "You're right," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "I've made mistakes. I've been afraid. But I'm still here, and I won't give up." The shadows dissolved, their whispers fading into silence. The desert transformed into a tranquil meadow, a cool breeze washing over me. For the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope. "You've taken the first step," the guide said, a faint smile on their lips. "But the journey is far from over. Each trial will test you, but with each victory, you will grow stronger. Remember, the fate of many rests on your shoulders." I nodded, determination replacing doubt. The path stretched ahead, endless and unknown. But for the first time, I felt ready to face it. Whatever lay ahead, I would not walk it alone. And so, with a guide at my side, I continued forward, one step closer to fulfilling the purpose that awaited me.